Welcome to Mick and the Psychic, where we leave no stone unturned as we explore all things outside the apparent physical realm.
There is no intent to teach or make you believe or disbelieve anything. It is just a safe space to listen and explore with us.
So for this next episode, you have permission to open your heart and mind as you join myself and Xavier on this deep dive into the unknown. A third screen, if you're watching YouTube, we have someone else here which we'd like to introduce, and we're going to be talking about numerology today. So I better introduce Michele before she says any words. So Michele Scott is the founder of our wellness community and also a numerologist, obviously, holistic counsellor, positive psychology coach, and wellbeing practitioner. Michele creates relationships with her clients to help them figure out the answers to the same questions she asked herself as a teenager. Who am I? What is my purpose? And why am I here? Just three really easy questions. Michele is also a radio talk show host presenting wellness conversations on Casey Radio 97.7 FM, or you can listen to it online, which is what I have done in the past also. So welcome, Michele.
Yay! Thank you. How exciting.
And Michelle's also my friend as well, so it's very, very nice to have you on here, Michele.
Yay. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I do like how you said you had that little Freudian slip there. You're going to say interrupt Michele, because that's probably about right. She is always talking.
You're very welcome on this
so you
show.
might have to interrupt her.
Awesome.
I love it.
It's no problem at all. Well, we are here to
Where are we
talk
going to
about...
start? Where are we starting?
Well, here's the thing. So for me, there is a lot of things with numerology where I don't know anything. So I basically know that there's like a few different forms of numerology depending on what you do. But I'd love to get an idea on. Let's just start with what it is. Sorry for everyone out there that actually already knows what it is.
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
I love it.
Yeah, great.
I love that you don't know anything. Isn't that great? And you know what? You just reminded me though of my first introduction to it, which was actually a friend was studying it. I had never heard of numerology. I was mid-30s, and but I was on that. Those three questions really drove everything that came afterwards. I really was that teenager. I absolutely used to just think about it all the time. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is this thing called life? What are we meant to be doing here? I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it couldn't just be that we just grew up and got married and had children and that was it. Not that mind you, that's a really mean feat to accomplish, but not that there's anything wrong with that. But I was like, I just felt like there was more. And the more led me to astrology and tarot and Chinese astrology and all sorts of things to try and understand myself. And it wasn't until I got to numerology, like all those other modalities were really all pieces of the puzzle. But numerology, when I found it, just answered those three questions and so much more, right? But I remember when I first was introduced to it, a friend was studying it, and she said to me, oh, blah, blah, what was your brother's, my youngest brother was killed in a car accident. What was his date of birth again? And so I gave it to her, and she just rattled off these characteristics and these personality traits. And I was like, oh my God, and I just kind of went, what is that? And she said numerology, and I went, I'd never heard of it. And as soon as she said it, I was hooked. I was in, and I went away. And in fact, my first part of the journey was self-taught. I jumped online. I was just Googling. But then, of course, I went to this fabulous spiritual college that was in Frankston at the time, and then learnt it properly. So as you say, there are a couple of different, there's Chaldean, there's the Pythagoras method, which really is the most widely known, Pythagoras, the mathematician, is credited as being the father and the founder of Western numerology. And there is this Chaldean method. And when I first started out, because I was so curious and just so thirsty for anything and everything on the topic, I did look into that form of numerology. But I guess we just all have our thing. It's like a tarot deck.
Yeah.
We all have our particular deck that we are attracted to. And so I did look it up at the time, and I have talked on other shows about that. I've been questioned about it, but I didn't resonate with it. Of course, there's something in everything, but for me, it was the Pythagorean method. So it's based on your full name at birth, including middle name and your birth date details. And honestly, yeah, it's so amazing that we don't think we chose our name, and yet out of the name comes the personality, and out of the birth date comes the cycle, and from there it's as big as you. I always say when I do a reading for a client, I always say your profile goes as deep and as far outwards as you do. Right, our lives, we have so many different areas of life. We have so many different aspects to ourselves. We show different parts of ourselves in different situations with different people, and numerology is exactly the same. So you can come for one reading, but honestly, you can just go down the rabbit hole.
That's kind
it's
of
as
like
far as
any.
you want to go.
That's kind of like any
Yes.
therapeutic method, though, as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's
Yeah.
it does show a lot. Any practitioners out there that the power is definitely in the client. You can't really make them go anywhere, but you can guide them to wherever the opportunity they allow it. So it's interesting that came up for numerology with you. I don't have a tarot card deck. You said everyone's got a tarot card deck. I don't have one. Mine have like kings and queens on them and numbers, and I try and make money out of it with my friends.
Tarot, Michael.
But
is that called gambling, Mick?
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm not quite the degenerate I could be, but I do love poker. But it is interesting that you've gone the path, though, of when you were trying to find yourself,
yes,
or find who am I, or who I is. I guess that's another question, but that's.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
But in finding those things, you went to astrology, and what made you go to the more alternative side of things to try and find that?
Actually, yeah, no, it's not just. I'm a little bit more of a rare breed in that sense, because I've always been attracted to. I am both the hippie and also the traditionalist, which actually ties in well with my birthday of 4 in numerology, because number 4 in numerology is very practical. So I always say that I'm practical magic.
Okay.
So I've equally been attracted to, which is why I've now got the diploma of positive psychology. So I was always attracted to psychology, social work, Jung, Freud. I've been down all of those paths. So it wasn't about, but funnily enough, I didn't know what spiritual was at all until I went overseas. I started attracting people that were all starting to answer these questions that had long sort of been in my head, and that's how the journey kind of unfolded. But the first book that I read that took me further into the self-development was called The Magic of Believing. And in that book, it was about lots of stories of extraordinary things happening to ordinary people. And the moral of the story by the end of the book is that it happened because they believed it. And there was lots of research and lots of science in the book around all of those stories. But basically, it was about the power of the mind. So that's really, I don't know, if we put some words to it, I've been passionate about, firstly, self-understanding and self-awareness. I've been passionate about the power of the mind. I'm passionate about, as you say, who is I and who am I? And so, yeah, so I've learnt lots of different things, both alternative and traditional, to try and get there. Yeah.
So what were the convincers then? And that's not fair. You're not allowed to have a foot in both camps. You have to be on one side and advocate to the death that tarot cards will always be conversation cards from a psychologist. Having said that, though, what were your convinces then? Because you're a number 4, like you're very practical. I sound like I know about numerology. What were the convinces then that numerology for you was that, like, there was truth in it? Because there's plenty of stuff out there, and you go, okay, but not everything's true to you, or you don't.
The first thing that springs to mind about numerology and why that then became the final piece of the puzzle and why that answered everything was because numerology gives you insight into the personality as well as the journey. So every number. So in numerology, what we do is we add the numbers together. There's 9 core numbers, so we will always add the numbers together until we are left with one digit between 1 and 9. And then there's master numbers. So 11 and 22 in numerology are master numbers. Now, the first thing I loved about numerology, when you say about the alternative versus the traditional, the first thing I loved about it was that numbers is objective. Right? Numbers, when it comes to numbers, it's an objective, it's subjective, it's practical, we can all understand it. And what I loved about numerology was that because it was an objective modality, it doesn't matter what numerologist you go to, no one can change the meaning of the numbers. The numbers are what the numbers are, and every numerologist agrees that number 1 is independent, number 2 is sensitive, number 3 is outgoing. Whereas I found with tarot and some of the other modalities that they were very subjective. So it was really, when I studied tarot isn't just about a deck of cards. Tarot is learning about the archetypes of the different cards. But when you're doing a reading, you're bringing in your own level of intuition, your own emotional feel. Yeah. So that's what I loved about numerology. I loved that it was objective, it was practical, it was down to earth. I also, for me, what resonated with me was the parts of my personality that I hadn't even figured out yet. As soon as I read what a challenge number 1 was, which was if you have a challenge number 1, then self-doubt and feeling insecure, feeling inferior. When I read that, I was like, oh my God, that's why I feel what I feel. And no one had ever picked that up in me. And I had never been able to define that because I always came across as confident. Everyone thought I was confident and outgoing, but I knew I had that little thing. And then so the parts of numerology that really stuck with me was the stuff I learned about myself that I hadn't even found words to describe yet.
Wow.
So
that touched you somehow, like whether it works or not, it's true or it's made up, whatever it was, when you had done those numbers for whatever reading it was like, wow, this is exactly what I need now, and this will help me with this.
Yeah. And Mick, it was also the fact, what it also did was it really empowered me. It wasn't about the good stuff. It was learning about the challenges. It was learning about the stuff that was going to keep occurring for me. And the reason it keeps occurring is because I have to grow in these particular ways. That's actually what was empowering. It was because then I understood. I really fully understood it that in that revealing or that reveal that life that happiness builds from the inside out. That everything about how I will be in the world has to be managed inside out. That that there was no something coming towards me to rescue me, save me. There was no happy ever after coming from out there. It was all about lessons. And when I saw my chart, I knew what the lessons were, and now I see it before it comes. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. That's how it really empowered me to fully understand that I've got all this good stuff that's going to help me do good. But I've actually and maybe if we go a bit deeper into that thought, it's actually for me about the soul. It's actually for me about what the soul's come to learn. That's what I found in my profile, that fundamentally, on that deep level, this is actually what it's truly about. There's lots of stuff, I do up here, but really, I've really come, I'm a healer and I do all that in the outside world, but actually what I've really come is to heal my own insecurities, my own fear of abandonment, my own feelings of rejection, my own feelings of betrayal. That's really what the journey's about. And I'm going to continue to encounter that at different levels as I evolve. And so it just freed me. It freed me from so much superficial, petty nonsense that I used just currently engaged, like I used to engage in, thinking that that was what it was.
Well, there is a
Yeah, it
very
freed me.
there is a very deep happiness that I get emulating from you that you can't pretend. So maybe that freedom brings some happiness. So maybe there's absolute truth to your words. It's interesting you talk about the soul. Xavier and I have talked about it before on
Yeah.
previous podcasts as well, looking at those different levels where she tries to blow my mind with the levels of the soul and us all being one, and I still don't get it. But I guess when you're talking in that sense, so you're talking about that. So numerology is looking at the patterns of your personality, and the soul is looking at why am I learning these lessons through these patterns in the personality. So you're saying it's kind of separate from your personality as your kind of overarching being.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
definitely.
the
I love
numerology
how you
just
just
talks
said
about
that.
that. Yeah.
Say that again.
So is it more, the numerology is more connected to the personality or the persona of, say, Michele Scott, and you're looking at that pattern from a separate standpoint, from a higher self or something removed from that. But the numbers talk about the personality, and you talk about why am I going through this personality?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yep. So definitely. So out of numerology, out of the initial learning, I also created my own sort of program with numerology. So for me, for what I created out of my learning, again, getting back to those core numbers from 1 to 9, and then you've got those master numbers 11 and 22, which I didn't finish this thought earlier. Everyone agrees, every numerologist agrees on 11 and 22, but you will find that there are some numerologists that will also talk about 33 and 44, etc. I think Dan Millman does, he goes into 33, 44, 55, etc. So, so for me, every number is an archetype. Every number is an archetype. Every number is a journey. Every number is a cycle. Every number has a challenge and a past life fear. And every number has a characteristic. So yes, so with numerology, I can start off. There's 9 areas of life with numerology. And there's 9 key aspects of self. So I can read for you at just the level of personality. This is what, here's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. That SWOT analysis type thing. And we can talk about the cycles. In numerology, you've got the big journey, which is your life path number. That'll give me some insight into what you are here to learn. And then whatever we are here to learn, we attract the experiences under which to do so. So you've got the big journey. I always explain it like a road trip around Australia. You've got the big journey, but you can't do a road trip around Oz all in one day. So in numerology, you've got pinnacle cycles. It's the 4 seasons of your life. So basically, if we go back to the road trip around Oz, then it's like going from here to Adelaide to WA type thing. But then you've also got personal year numbers. So each year, another cycle enters our experience. And then you can look at that again, go back to the road trip. And to get to Adelaide, I certainly can't drive straight through. There's going to be a lot of shorter roads to get to Adelaide. So when I do your profile, I'll pinpoint where you are at in terms of the big journey, the pinnacle cycle, and where you are at now. And again, though, just all we need to take out of the cycles in numerology is that it's the road you are on. And if we talk about a road trip around Australia, you can imagine that the you that starts that journey is going to be very different to the you that ends the journey. So when I went overseas, the Michele that left and the one that came back was completely different.
Or any family that's ever taken a caravan trip around Australia.
Exactly, right. And so when you talk about the soul, your cycles are going to give me insight into what's the soul here to learn. And then when we go deeper into that, then you can understand things like, if I've got number one life path, and I've come to learn to stand on my own 2 feet, then how am I going to do that? Do you think that I would learn how to stand on my own 2 feet if I only ever attracted supportive people and people that constantly helped me and did everything for me? Or am I more likely to attract perhaps some bullies? Perhaps I'm going to attract some people that perhaps I'm going to, usually with a life path 1, they may have, for whatever the reasons may be, their family, they may feel abandoned by family. They may grow up with mum and dad not really around, either physically or emotionally. And then, of course, we call that trauma, right? And
Yeah.
it will be in certain aspects of that. But what if you changed your perspective on that? What if I've come to learn to stand on my own 2 feet at the soul level, and in order to do that, the soul has set it up so that I won't be supported in the same way as a number 2 life path. Because
Wow.
if yeah, does that make sense?
Yep.
That's the kind of insight you get out of your profile. That's what I got out of my profile. So therefore, instead of doing the things I was previously doing, which may have been feeling sorry for myself, wondering why me, why is this happening to me, I understood that, oh, I'm here to heal that. I'm here to overcome that. And this is, this is setting it up beautifully for me in order to do that. So yeah, you can just look at the personality, but also when it comes to the personality component, there are 9 key aspects of self. So I can look at how you are. Your birthday will give me some insight into what are the characteristics and traits and qualities that you've got inherent in you.
Is that the
But
personal year, Michelle? When you say
no, that's your birth date number.
birth date, but is that
Yeah.
the one you use to add up the personal year, or is that something else? Sorry, just trying to make
Yes,
sense.
sorry. Yes.
Okay.
So you add your birth date plus your month of birth to the universal year to get your personal year
Right. Cool.
cycle. Yes.
That's different again to the one that your name gets added up to.
Yes.
Right. Cool. Okay.
Yes. So just a quick snapshot of how many different parts of your personality I can see. There's your expression number, shows skill and strengths in career and work. Your heart's desire number will show how you are in love, romance, what motivates, drives and motivates you. Your personality number, which also comes out of your name at birth, that shows how others see you. So I've got a personal number 8. So people have always seen me as number 8 as an archetype as the manager. Number 8 can facilitate and manage and do all the things you think a manager can do. So people have always seen that side of me that takes control, that gets in and sorts things out. But as I said before, I have an overall challenge of number 1. So despite how I seem to you, I do have that inherent self-doubt, and that'll crop up at different times in my life, depending on who I'm with, what I'm doing, and what I need to learn at that particular point in time. So does that help? Because I can really go down the rabbit hole there.
It does. It's interesting. You just threw like a little statement in there and just kept talking. You said also it can indicate past life fear.
Yes.
Can we go back there?
Did you hear nothing else after that, Mick?
I heard everything. That's why I write things down.
I saw you write that down,
I don't
Mick.
sit there and go, oh, wait for my question.
And I tell you, so here's such exciting news, right? This is so good.
How good's Michelle's laugh? I just want to add.
I know.
So
I'll record it. Oh, we are recording it. It's fine.
So here's what happened. I learnt, I learnt it in its first instance, but I love learning. I think if you've got a love of learning, you are really going to do well in life. And so after learning the Pythagorean method, I also loved Dan Millman. I'd read lots of books on that he had written, and so I read his version of numerology. Then I came across another fabulous numerologist, Hans Decos, and I picked up some beautiful things from him. And then I was teaching it was a while ago now, 10 years ago, let's say. I went to teach a class, and the chick in the class said, "Hey, I've got these books at home, and I'll bring them in. And she brought them in. And honestly, at the time, they were double Dutch. They just looked so complicated. It was about numerology, written by someone I had never heard of. I'd never seen these books. And I just kind of went, oh, yeah, okay. Couldn't really pinpoint it. Obviously wasn't the right time, because then 3 years ago, I found them. Just forgotten all about these books. Of course, I've never returned them to her. So if she's watching or listening, I'm sorry, but thank you, because out of that book, wow, so much info. But the big thing I've taken out of it just for now is past life fears. So basically, your birth date, as I said before, gives insight into all different cycles of your life. But also, if we add all the numbers across in a different way than I would add it for your life path number, I then get your past life fears, and I've got my own, of course. And
which past life?
Unbelievable.
Do you know which one?
Now, no. So what they say is we don't know. But mind you, I forgot this as well, Mick. You'd like to hear this too. That even out of the traditional numerology, I can also see karmic lessons from your, I call it KIT, your key indicator traits. So after all the other personality stuff, what I'll do is I'll add up all the ones, all the letters in your name that are ones. So that's A, for every A, for every S, for every A, every J, every S in your name. I'll add up all the ones, I'll add up all the twos, threes, fours, etc. That also tells me a story. And sometimes if I'm just doing a quick little reading for people, I sometimes just do that noughts and crosses box. And that gives me insight too into how you're going to be in terms of confidence, cooperation, work ethic, all that
Based
sort of
on
stuff.
previous karma.
And in that box, if you've got no, for every zero you have, for every letter that isn't in your name, we call it a karmic lesson. And then there's 4 combinations of numbers that when we add the particular area together, if we get any one of these 4 combinations, we call it a karmic debt. So the numbers are 13-4, 14-5, a 16-7, or a 19-1. If any part of your profile, be it your life path number or your expression number or your heart's desire number, if it adds up to that combination, then there's more of a story that I'll be able to tell you. I can't go into all of it now. But yeah, so we get karmic lessons, we get karmic debt numbers in your normal numerology, and then in this add-on that I learnt, I can see past life fears. So we don't know what lifetime, but what we talk about is with karmic debt, we also don't know what lifetime, but we talk about but just that the soul's brought that into this lifetime to work through and heal from.
So it's relevant to
yes,
probably your life path or whatever big things that you're trying to work through. It's probably relevant to that.
It's about although we don't know which lifetime, we know that you've brought it into this lifetime. We presumably think it's because you've evolved enough to be able to work through it in this lifetime. Yeah.
What a beautiful way of thinking about that as well. Like a lot of people that have been through a lot of pain and hard times, that the more a lot of workers will look at that and go, wow, you're quite an impressive being to take all of that on for these lessons.
Yes.
It's not that you're a victim, you're actually a very brave, I wouldn't say soldier, she's not fighting anyone, but like a brave participant of this land to take on all of that stuff. It's interesting that comes through with your work as well. I have to ask this. I don't know if it's a personal question or not. Do you have children?
Yes.
Were you a numerologist before you had children? Did it take you 9 months to name them? Like how there's a lot of pressure on you to name them, because imagine.
And so this is how exactly right. But this is, again, like Xavier was saying before, how she knows that the more that we know, the less we know, and the more we figure out, the less we. And she said she's cool with that. So for me, that's exactly how I was. Once I got to numerology, and at that point, I just fully fell into that understanding that I'm a soul, a soul living a human experience, and I'm really here to work through all of these things. After that, when I was learning, I tell you, I was just so thirsty for all this knowledge that if anybody, I used
There's
to
a lot
watch
of data
telly,
out
and
there.
if anybody yelled out their birth date
So much
details,
data. Yeah.
I'd be constantly working it out,
Doing the
right? I
numbers.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm a lot older now, so I can't remember all that stuff anymore. But I was just used to, oh my God. But when it came to, and of course, when I first learned it, of course, I used to do it on prospective partners. But then by the time my son came along, and I really fully fell into, it just is what it is. I didn't do, and I also had lots of students that would do that, go, oh, what name? And here's what here was my thinking. My thinking was, you know what, this is about, again, I truly believe that there's more. I truly believe that it goes deeper than that. So therefore, it doesn't matter what name you choose, you can't control the birth date. So even if you try to,
Okay.
you can't choose. There's
So
just
it's
no
related
choice.
to that. It's related to the
Well, you
birthday.
might be able to choose the name so that you get some perfect being in the form of a child, but you can't choose when they're going to be born. So if we're all souls living a human experience, and we've come to learn, the lessons are there. We're not coming down here unless we've got
Okay.
lessons to learn.
Sure.
So
Michelle, you mentioned that we choose our name, even though we think like the
we
parents
think we don't, yeah.
And so that's something I definitely believe, being a psychic, I've been shown that. And then we also ourselves choose when we're born, I would like to throw in there as well.
Yes.
So then I love that. So we've got this spiritual, the woo-woo part of it, even though you're talking about like the factual, the number part of it too. So there is this crossover.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you have
definitely.
to be open-minded, I would think, because if you're going to be all into the numbers and the science behind that and how they all add up and it's practical and there's no intuition in that, you all agree that 1 means 1 and 2 means 2, but then there's past life stuff and karmic stuff.
Definitely,
and
definitely.
to come at this certain time and shows that
Yeah.
name and all that kind of stuff for your lesson. So
Yeah.
I love that there is a crossover, a sneaky crossover there. So there has to be an element to that.
Oh, definitely. And it's known. And numerology is look, they say the science of numbers, but at the same time, out of the cycles, it's certainly predictive, right? It's just more of a it's just. And of course, you bring your intuition into it. You have to bring your own flavor into everything that you do, don't you? But I think with numerology, the part of it that I'm saying is objective, is that unlike tarot, where that card can mean different things to several different readers, all numerologists will say that number one's like this, number two's like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, it's of course it's woo woo. There's lots of woo woo in there for sure. And then so getting back to what the child thing, no, the name for my son just that just happened. What I did know though, I was just attracted to J names.
Okay.
And then someone said a name, I heard it, and I went, oh yes, that's his name. But I tell you what, how numerology helped me. My son, the pregnancy was amazing. My baby was, delicious, and my toddler was, it was just beautiful. And then he started school.
It's called friends. Yeah.
And
Outside
then he
influence.
And then he started school. And you know what? I tell you, if I didn't have numerology, if I didn't know who my son was and why he was here and everything
Okay.
that I saw in his profile, I might have, he has a lot of one energy. So unlike me, he hasn't come here to learn how to stand up for himself. He already knew how to do that. But he didn't have a lot of twos. So there was a lot of the areas to help him develop into were how to cooperate, how to you take the stage for a little bit, but then you have to sit down and allow someone else to have their moment in the spotlight. So if I didn't know what I knew, and I didn't and the numbers hadn't helped me in that way, I might have been talked into thinking he was ADHD.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was so full of energy, he was so out there, he was in trouble all the time.
I kind of feel like ADHD is just as woo-woo as numerology anyway, in my experience, but it's just medicated.
Right. Yeah.
And people that are paid a lot of money can diagnose it, so it's more acceptable.
Yeah.
I just threw that one in there, just for all those psychiatrists out there that hate me now.
They can tell you all about it in the comments.
And that's what I
That's
Mick,
right.
and Mick, that's what I think. So
Yeah.
for me, when you go on that journey of self-understanding, whatever tool you use to get there, for me it was numerology,
Yeah.
and that actually showed me it showed me who my son was and what he was working through. He thinks it's all bullshit, don't get me wrong. He's in no shape or form
Cool. You've got a rational child. This is great. This is great news.
exactly right.
Did you start
Um,
that you think it's
but
all bullshit?
it really helped. It helped me to and
So
that's
parenting. This is
that's
like.
right.
Do you see a lot of mums? I
I
would say
have
mums.
done.
Probably
Yeah,
not as many dads.
I have. It's not my ideal client. I generally tend to attract women, the mature women. But yes, I've done lots of. I actually went through a phase of teenage girls. I went through a phase of mums bringing their teenage girls to me, going through, what teenage girls are going through.
Mm.
And honestly, what their profile did was inspire them. Your profile inspires you. It reminds you. It shows you that whatever cycle you are in, it's okay, it'll change soon. So so they kind of went away, and then the other way that I will do readings is for the parents of the child.
Yeah.
So the parent will come and get so as different as we are, your profile is going to give you insight into exactly the ways in which you are different. And then of course I've got coaching, counseling, mindset tools in
Why
my
you've tooled
kit,
up.
so
Yeah.
I can then, let you know exactly how to manage the energy. But it's really as simple as we've all got strengths, we've all got weaknesses. Absolutely maximize your strengths as much as you can, and take your weaknesses and develop them and nurture them and turn them around. It's really that simple.
Wow, that's amazing. I want to throw in something that's not so simple. Because we're talking about kids' names. Elon Musk is a bit of a
Ah,
genius. I wonder if the name that he
so
came up with, he's pretending he's not into numerology or anything, but
I know. I'm
being a
bloody.
high-end Illuminati member, he's
Yeah.
probably got some sort of dark side attached to him.
How do you
I'm
do
joking,
that?
by the way. I'm
I
joking,
am
by the way.
seeing him everywhere at the minute. I think he's
What would you do with his sons?
fascinating.
I love the
Yeah,
guy.
it's got numbers
Yeah,
in it,
I love him
doesn't it?
too.
His name? How do
It's
you,
got symbols and numbers.
how do
What do you
you,
do with that? Has
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll
he
see.
bamboozled you?
Eli, well, as I said, I love stories. I love hearing stories. I love the journey of people's stories because it's the same. And I love he's got a real I'm just seeing him everywhere at the moment. And I love how he's just so insightful and so
Yeah,
grounded and just like,
yeah, he is.
he just doesn't, there's no sort of big notion. I don't know. I mean, we never know what people are like behind closed doors, but he's just so, it seems to me that he's gotten to where he is just through pure and simple curiosity.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
just
he's
just a
genuine.
curious guy. Yeah, it's just genuine.
He's
Well, see,
genuine.
with Elon, it's and already his name starts with E, right?
Yeah,
And E in numerology is the number 5, and number 5 is the entrepreneur, the explorer,
I'm
right? Number
convinced
5
now.
is number 5 is
It's gold.
versatile.
He's
If it
Number
sold.
came out
5
as
is
as someone that's useless in business, I'd be like, you know what? I don't know about this. Well, it could be
already,
actually, and
and
he
then
might have
and
done a lot of work on it before he started doing this. So maybe.
well, it was I saw a little ticky talk with him, and he actually said he doesn't think. He goes, I don't think I'm a businessman. He goes, lots of people will. He goes, I think lots of people will agree with you. He goes, I don't think of myself as a businessman. He said, I think of myself as an engineer.
Yeah, you're not. You're not, because you're not doing all of the work in a cramped up office working all
Yeah,
the hours and someone else
yeah,
making millions out of your patents. I'm sorry, you're not an engineer.
yeah.
You're not doing the
Sorry.
time
Nice
that real
try.
engineers are doing. But his son's name
How do you,
is like a password.
it's
It's
got
got
numbers in it.
symbols and numbers in it. So
Wow. So
it's got
I
letter
mean, as if
symbols and numbers. So what do you do with that?
he's got to be woo woo, then, doesn't he?
So how
He's
would
got
you
Or
to
he's
be
work
anti
out,
woo woo.
how would
or
you
he's
work
anti
out his number then if he's
just from
got
the numbers. Then, like, what are the numbers?
I don't. There's symbols
Yeah,
as well.
there's
like
symbols.
It's hieroglyphics.
no
I don't know.
M12? I don't know. What
Well,
do you
with
can't
so
remember.
I'll look it up
so
as we
that'll be
speak.
interesting. Well, I reckon with the numbers would just be that'd be fine because that's numerology. I do have templates somewhere as well. It doesn't matter if your name is written in a different language. The way that we would work it out would be the same, right? It kind of just goes into the same sort of alphabetical kind of thing. I wonder, I'll have to look it up to see if there's a way to maybe.
Well, it's I don't know how to say it because I'm not I'm not an engineer or a mathematician, and I've been in the engineering world, so they're going to hate me. It's X, and we don't know if that's 10 or X, and then that symbol that's an A, like italic A with an E on the end of it. I don't know what that symbol is.
Yeah, it's part AE. I know what you mean. It's
and
like,
so there's a space between it and then the space A-12.
-12. How interesting.
I don't know what
I
that
don't know.
name.
I don't know about that symbol that you're talking about, but I'll do some more little research around that. But see, X and
We'll have to have you back on to do Elon Musk's son's numbers. That is your challenge. You might have to go full time onto this and stop everything else you're doing. But I think you can get a Nobel Prize.
X is number 8 in numerology. X is number 8. Okay. Exactly, Xavier. And we call it cornerstone. So the first letter is the cornerstone. And as I said before, number 8 is the manager. Number 8 is the journey of self-empowerment. Number 8 is very business, right? Very business, very able to manifest money. It's all about so that's interesting. Excellent.
Very interesting.
Some kind of
man, I wish my mum named me X Michael. That's like
well, Xavier, different spelling. Yeah, sorry, I got that.
And see, Michael, like Michelle, right? We're both our cornerstone is M, and M is number 4. Right. Okay. So as much as we will be, as I said, I've got the 4 there in my name. I've also got the birth date of 4. So even though, yes, I am absolutely, I believe that we're all souls. I'm absolutely open to woo-woo. There is definitely a practical. I'm going to be much more practical than maybe Xavier but mind you, Xavier is, so X is 8, 4s and 8s in numerology are practical numbers.
Okay.
Right, 4s and X's are practical numbers. Your intuitive numbers
are
2, 7. Hey.
So you're saying the psychic is practical?
Well, I'm just saying that they're practical numbers. So you can actually take out some of the numbers in numerology and go like, whenever I meet a Greg or a Graham, G is number 7. So already I know, and I've met so many Gregs, and they all have this quality. G equals 7, and 7 is very introspective.
Okay.
Right. 7 is very introspective, almost, the observer. 7 is the observer. So you can just sort of pick up, it's not the whole of who people are, but you can just pick up little bits and pieces. And so I'm always, when people sort of talk and I just overhear them and let's say they'll go, oh, geez, I'm going through a lot of change this year. And I'll think, oh, wonder if they're in a personal year 5, oh, everything, I'm breaking it, I've separated, I've got all these doors closing. I think, oh, I wonder if there are 9. So it's just, it keeps me amused as well. But it generally always turns out to be spot on. So I always say, I didn't invent it. I don't know why it works, but I tell you, it does. Oh. It just does.
Are you like, sorry, you go.
Sorry, we're going to get thrown. I'll distract you with my question now. But I know it's the start of a new year, and when the year changes, the number changes for everybody, and I don't know what that one's called. That's not a personal year. That's a what number?
Oh, the universal year.
Universal year. What number is it this year?
Yeah, so the universal year is nice and easy. We just add the year together. So we're in 2022. So firstly, right, 2022, all those tools. So there's going to be a heightened sensitivity with that number 2. And this is what I love about the numbers, because the numbers are just like life, just like us, that every number, people always say, oh, but what's the best number? No, there isn't a best number. There isn't a best person. There isn't a best anything. Everything has pros and cons. So every single number, and that's what I love. Every number is a journey. If we went on the journey throughout each of the numbers, we would absolutely grow into perfectly well-rounded, beautiful human beings. But of course, life isn't like that. So every number has a positive, every number has a negative. So the positives with that number 2 energy this year is, number 2 is definitely about cooperation. Number 2 is definitely about making peace, not keeping the peace, which avoids confrontation, but making peace. And to make peace, we have to confront to make peace. And I used to be very much someone that, oh, you know what, if you're sitting on the fence and you're not saying what should be said, then that's as bad as being someone who's constantly having their own opinion out there in the world. So to me, universally, we have the opportunity, you know, whether we take it or not, the opportunity is there. And the same applies in our own lives. Every cycle is going to give us an opportunity to grow better somehow. But free will, if you believe in free will, my son always challenges me on this. I used to think that we had some, you know, is whether we step into it and step up to it and embrace it or not. So this year we can cooperate more, you know, and the journey of the numbers is number 1 teaches me how to stand up for myself. By the time you get to number 9 teaches me how to stand up for others. So it's not all about me all the time. And I think we're definitely in an age of me, what about me? What's in it for me? You know, and it's not black and white. There's so many different sides to every single issue in life, and there's so many different sides to us. So to me, this is a year to cooperate. It's to understand that none of us in an island, no man is an island. We cannot survive as a species, or species, I don't know how you say that word, if we continue to have such division. And number 2 is unity. Number 2 is united we stand, divided we fall. And so we've got that going on with the number 2, right? We can stand up and cooperate, or it may be that we are more and more divisive out there. But also 2 + 0 + 2 + 2 equals 6. And 2s and 6s in numerology are definitely the warm and fuzzy numbers. They're emotional. It's heartfelt. It's heartful. It's about matters of the heart. And again, for us to really individually, and you know this, Xavier, as a couple and in friendship and as a parent, you know, this is the most difficult thing for all of us to do, but in fact, it's what we need to do now, is to go deep into the heart. If we talked from the heart, none of us would say the shit that we say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
right?
Everybody did that all the time.
Yeah.
Not have issues.
We would not have issues. But God, it's hard, isn't it, to say what you really you know? And so 6 this year is 6 is such a time of healing. 6 is relationships, it's family, it's heart matters, it's community. It's community. So we really, whereas last year was a number 5 universal year, and number 5 is change, whether it's chaos, or you manage that change. It's rebellion. Right?
How beautiful is the vibe for this year then? I feel better about this year.
Yeah, this is such a, and I got complete goosebumps then.
Yeah,
I got complete goosebumps. I haven't had that for a while. So that's definitely what this year universally for all of us. But then we all have our own personal year, you know, in that. But definitely that's what I sort of did in my blog at the beginning of the year, that it's really a beautiful time. It can be a beautiful time of healing. Number 6 as an archetype is the natural counselor. Number 6 as a journey is the journey of self-acceptance and allowance, and it's leaving perfectionism behind, and it's learning how to love ourselves, warts and all. And in doing that, we can extend that to others. So it's really about number 6 learns how to judge without becoming judgmental.
Do you get your own personal year number by just adding up the year you were born, or is it your whole birth date?
So what you do is you take your birth date and add your birth date, birth month to the universal year. So for me, I'm the 4th of February. I will add 4 + 2 to that number 6.
I'm going to add mine. So
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to add yours.
So what are you, Mick?
Yeah.
Do me. I feel like I'm at school. Oh, do me. 2602.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got the 8 as well in your birth date, 2602. So you are 2 + 6 + 2 + 6.
16. 1 + 6 is 7.
So you're so that's 12. What's that? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, so 7. Yep. Right. And now, and the other thing the other disclaimer to put in there. Yeah, so see, I mean, I used to be just so quick with counting up.
I feel like that. All I was going to say is, like, I feel like when you're eavesdropping into people's conversations, all I can see is Russell Crowe in The Beautiful Mind. You know, where he's standing there at the window and he's gone crazy and he's writing numbers on the window, and then you just see all these calculations just floating around in his head. I feel like You just walk around with all these numbers, just,
I used to.
but it's only 1 to 9.
I used to, I tell you.
Sorry, disclaimer.
So the other disclaimer to put in there, I don't know if it's a disclaimer, but the other thing to say with personal year numbers, and this is one of the very few parts of numerology that there can be different schools of thought on. So some of us apply the personal year number at the beginning of the year, and some do it from birthday to birth date. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas, So, look, I always explain it this way. If your birthday falls at the beginning of the year, as mine does, I usually find that as soon as the clock has struck midnight, the energy, I can already feel the energy, the lessons, the experiences of that number coming into my life. But if you're born in the middle of the year or towards the end of the year, then you might still be in the energy of the previous year, personal year number, and you'll find the energy of this year comes in incrementally. Okay.
Right.
But for you, you're born in you're February like me, Mick. So it's the number 7 for you. So number 7. So you're coming out of a 6 year. So I wonder last year, was it about matters of the heart? Did you feel last year that it was more about family matters, that people were sort of leaning on you more? Definitely about relationships in any phase of 6, and you're coming into a 7. So this is the year. Oh, and how funny that you've started Mick and the psychic. So this number 7 is the spiritualist. Phases of 7 are going to you're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to be doing that soul seeking, soul searching kind of thing. With the number 7, you're going to feel more. And again, it's just funny. It's funny how you have these sort of, oh, I'd like to do that next, and then I do the profile. I go, oh, isn't that funny? So you might have already started to feel more
Definitely.
sort of introspective, more kind of wanting to spend time in rather than out. And so this is a great year for you, to study, for you to learn, for you to go more into your spiritualism and more into that self-awareness stuff. Yeah, isn't it?
Lock me away, put me in an ashram.
I'm going to learn so much about spiritualism with this podcast. It's awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And what about you, Xavier? What were you?
21st to the 11th.
Right. So then we'll just break that. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 plus 6 is 11. Is that what you got?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, master numbers don't normally apply in this part of the profile, your personal year number. But you know what? Because I know it, I do always take it into account. And but it'll be 1 + 1 = 2. So it's interesting for you that you're in a universal, all those 2s in the universal year, but it's a universal year 6. But then you've also got the 2 in your own personal year as well. So for you, again, and if we say the number 11 is inspirational speaker. Number 11 has a lot of influence. Number 11 has a lot of capability. And we definitely call number 11 the natural psychic, right? So this year you'll find, Xavier, that you'll go deeper, that you'll be able to access more of that gift. You'll go higher. I always say when I come back to practical magic, Mick, if I do a reading for a guy, I don't talk about intuition or psychic ability. I talk about instinct. And we all have it, okay? We're animals. We all have instinct.
Definitely animals.
And I look at it that we can all, again, practical. So to me, we all think, we all feel, but we all think differently, and we all have different levels of sensitivity in our feeling space. So intuition and instinct isn't any different. We all have intuition. We just have different levels of that ability. But it's like anything, the more you listen to it, the more you trust and believe in it, then the stronger it gets. It's like will. The more I use my will, the more willpower I get. Like, that's just not rocket science. So for Xavier in this year of number 2, so number 2 is very much about partnership, and you'll attract more opportunities for partnership. You've got that. You probably get married this year, which is good. Good for number 2. So everything about your ability to influence will be greatly enhanced, and more. Yeah.
If there's a lot of 2s, like how it's 2022, and then you say your number 2 as well, does that intensify the meaning of the 2 because there's 4 of them?
Yes. Yes, and then also we must always consider the challenge of that. Okay, so Xavier has the opportunity to definitely grow more intuitive, attract more support. Number 2 is the journey of self-love, so you can go deeper with that. You can you can grow more of that. But we must also remember that sensitivity. If there's too much sensitivity, then there can be. If I don't know how to manage that, there can be overwhelmed. There can be overly sensitive. There can be misunderstandings when we become overwhelmed and overly sensitive. So all of that needs to be taken into account. And again, when you do your profile, then you get all that information to know that. And same with Mick. This is a number 7 is a great year to learn more about me and those deeper conversations this year for you, deeper connections. At the same time, though, number 7 can become, don't become too reclusive. Number 7 can become so deep that it forgets to engage in the small talk or just to socialize and have a little bit of fun. Can become a little bit too serious. So
it's a beautiful reminder. So knowing that, it's not to worry you, it's just to give you a heads up. So
yes,
it's cheating. It's cheating. It's basically cheating.
It's not cheating. Man, we need all the help we can get on this.
I love this. I think Xavier, this needs to be called Xavier and the Skeptic.
Which
is the number 7.
Therapist. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to be.
He's good. He's an open-minded skeptic.
I'm definitely open-minded. I do a lot of meditation.
And you need to have skepticism. You need to have skepticism.
I'm kind of naturally skeptic, but I also understand, and I'm going to give you a skeptic question, but I want to caveat the question in so Richard Feynman got a Nobel Prize for his work on quantum electrodynamics, which is basically the way light moves. And he always says, and he's a funny guy, believe it or not, but he would have his lectures and he'd say, does anyone here know why light moves in the way it moves? And then obviously no one will put their hand up, and he'll say, did you notice I didn't have my hand up? I haven't got a fucking clue. So he has absolutely no idea how. He's won a Nobel Prize because he knows what it does, but he has no idea how. I have a lot of respect for Richard Feynman, very funny guy, and very clever, obviously. With that in mind, I understand, I do like numbers, I do like mathematics, and in my previous job in engineering, anyone that worked with me will know that I'm not the mathematician I should be. However, I still like it. And I know how numbers came about. So it's like numbers were kind of made up, right? So even with the months, so we go with the Gregorian calendar and we're doing the numbers. They came from the ancient Sumerians and their counting ways, where they would have, on one hand, that's where they'd count things up, and on the other hand, they'd use their thumb to count by 3s on their fingers, and that's how you get the 6 and the 12 and the 360. Because then by the time you count up with your other hands, when you get to all the 12s, you get to 60. And so that's how we've got the clocks, the sundials, the 360 degrees, the minutes and the seconds within that, and then obviously 360 days in a year. And then so the ancient Sumerians thought, okay, there's a meteor and that stuff things up, so it's 5.25 days. That's just days of rest because the Earth isn't spinning the way it originally was. So that we've got all this understanding on counting, and then obviously counting to 10 it worked a little bit easier. So numbers are really made up. They're kind of not. It's like not really. It's like a language really to explain patterns, I suppose. Having known that, it's how objective is it to just use numbers and say these numbers present this, when we're going by a Gregorian calendar and we're going by a number system from the Sumerians and we're going by counting up to 10 because we thought, hey, that's easier.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said earlier in the show, that I don't know why this works. And Pythagoras.
It was a philosopher, number 1, and a mathematician, number 2.
And he believed everyone and everything in the universe could be explained in terms of numbers.
All our numbers, I think. And what was that? All our numbers, or all his numbers. I think that was his.
Was that his thing? Was
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
I haven't seen that one. I haven't come across that one. But that's what I always say. I didn't create this stuff. I didn't invent it. It fascinates me. How does it explain? It just works. I don't know why it works or how it works, but I know it works. I know it's worked on me. It's worked on as a parent, as a lover, the other thing, like just expanding on what I was saying earlier about there's so much more to it than just your personality and your purpose and your path, is that when I did numerology, when I learnt numerology, I did numerology obviously on my family, my father, my mother, my brother. And the brother I never ever understood, and I don't think he'll ever listen to this because it's not his gig at all, and didn't like very much. We never got along. My middle brother, we never got along. We were chalk and cheese. And when I did his numerology, we were chalk and cheese, and I got to understand all the reasons why that was, and so it made me a better daughter, a better sister, a better friend. And then of course I've done hundreds and hundreds of readings and teaching and this. I mean, I don't know if I can say shit, but the shit works. And
I said the F word, so you're in.
And then maybe, Mick, in positive psychology, we had a big lesson on meaning making. Human beings are meaning making machines.
Yeah,
we are.
So hey, who knows? I mean, I'm quite sure. I've never touched wood. Look, I don't. I've never had anybody come. I better not now. I've never had anybody come back and go, that was complete bullshit. Like, that did not peg me at all. I don't know where you get that stuff from, but that is so wrong. I might have had, I've had feedback where, wow, some of that I didn't relate to, some of that I didn't resonate with, but wow. And then this is what happens with me, and because I had my profile done by other numerologists, what'll happen is I don't get some of it now, but then 5 years later I pick up the report and I go, oh, I didn't read that before. So sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you haven't grown into that part of yourself. So so I'm like, who did you say, Richard? I don't know why the light. I don't know about how the light works.
But this is what happens when we tested it, and this is what it does, and this is how you calculate it. And that's a very scientific way of looking at things, because I mean, science isn't necessarily a alternative to a belief system, because it's not a belief system. Science is a way of measuring and finding out facts. The interpretation of those facts is a belief system, but that's not what science is. It's just what some scientists do. Yeah.
I love the so it's not just about knowing one of your numbers and then, because people who might not resonate with the meaning, it's reminding me of astrology. When you all know your sun sign, I'm a Scorpio, and then if I go read the Scorpio thing, they write it so vague, the explanation, like anyone could relate to all of it on some level, but it's more than that. You need to know your moon sign, I think, and other things too.
Hey, I'm the skeptic here. What are you doing? You're throwing this only a few episodes in, and you've just flipped this whole thing upside down. We're going to change names.
It's like numerology.
Just call it the psychic skeptic. Skeptic and the septic, which is probably me.
I'm just thinking from a skeptic's point of view, I suppose. It's sort of like that with astrology.
It's true, though.
The other sign, like the moon sign and all that stuff too, because one's your shadow self, you don't show everybody, and one's the one that you put out to the world, which is how you describe in numerology. So it's not just about the one number. And same with Feng Shui.
No, and I do,
you were born, it's actually the day you were born is your animal, apparently, not the year you were born. So you got to combine all the animals, not just, and the hour and everything. It's not just that. So there's so much more to it. So it's worth going and seeing someone like you, Michelle, to get your chart done and find out all the different layers of yourself. Because if I meet another 6, I'm a 6, if I meet another 6, then they're not going to be the same as me, because they've got other numbers because of the name, how that adds up, and what year it is for them.
But there will be 6 similarities.
Yes, but there will be some similarities that you're
so it's kind of cheating at looking
to get born.
And I do get that quite a bit. Yeah, I do get people saying that quite a bit. I'm 11. I think where where are you?
Okay.
Yeah,
you're
11. Do
you have an 11 birthday date? Are you an 11 life path? Are you an 11 expression number? Are you an 11 heart's desire?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
No.
I'm
No,
so
it's
glad you said that, because it's
Yeah.
like people saying, "Oh, I'm an Australian." It's like, okay,
you wear
that could mean a lot. You know, or someone
How
that says,
Australian are you? Yeah.
or you know, we're looking at the healing side of things. Hopefully, by
Yes.
your wonderful
Yes.
2022 introduction to the year, it
Yeah.
was lovely. You know, maybe it's a way of looking at it as well. It's like, oh, I haven't had a vaccine, or I've had a vaccine. It's like, oh, well, those people are all the same. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
Whoa, yeah.
you
They're
know,
not on the same
Yeah.
number.
yeah, that's so
Yeah.
the numbers. So there is a really broad way of being able to look at things, and maybe everyone's a bit of a seven because someone's a seven in this way or another way. So those newspaper
Exactly.
ones, you could just throw out certain statements and everyone can say yes
Exactly.
on
They
that.
all
Yeah,
resonate.
because you might be a great example of opposites, right? Number 3 in numerology is very outgoing. Number 3 is the hostess with the mostess, right? Very
Mhm.
people oriented, very chatty, very friendly, loves to be out and about. But number seven is the observer, the thinker. Number 7 is introspective and reflective and wants to have deep conversations. So you might be, let's say you might be a 3 life path. If you're a 3 life path, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be chatty. It's what you've come to learn. It's what you come
Okay.
to experience and grow into, right?
Mm.
And or let's you might be a 3 life path and you've come to learn it, or maybe you're a 3 in your expression, and so at the workplace, in the workplace, you might be outgoing and chatty and have no problem. But let's say your heart's desire is 7. So in your relationship, in your intimate, your intimate. Your inner circle, sorry, is the word I'm looking for. You might be not so much chatty. You might be quite aloof. You might be hard to get to know. You might be a little bit distant. Your partner might find you a little bit distant, right? So it
Mm,
depends on, firstly, it depends on what is the number, where is the number, how is and then we look at that number is going to show me your likely behaviors in that particular area of life. And then, of course, we have hidden passion number. That's going to show me what really drives and motivates you. So for me, I never knew why. Again, this is what I loved about when I did mine. When you said before, Michelle, what was the sort of thing that made you
yeah.
pick that one? This was another one. From the minute I started working, I don't know why I was this kind of person, but every couple of years I would just want more. Like, okay, well, I know how to do that now. What's next? And then I would do what's next, and what's next would always be so different to what I had done. I was,
Hmm.
a Coles checkout chick. Then I was a junior clerk, and then I was a computer operator, and then I was a personal assistant. Then I was an office manager. Then I was in sales and marketing. Then I was spruiking. And then I do my chart, and I've got a hidden passion 5. And a hidden passion 5, what drives and motivates me and is versatility, is a variety, is a challenge. Loves a challenge, loves change, loves to quick learner, gets bored easily.
Sounds like me, actually. I wonder if that's mine too.
So that was, yeah. So I was like, that's why. That's why I'm. And
Wow.
again, when I learned that about myself, what I learned, see, number 5 can be a jack of all trades, whereas number 7 is a master. And so the beauty of understanding that about myself, okay, this is why I've done what I've done, and which all gave me lots of tools to put in the kit. But if I wanted to become, and by the time I found numerology, I'm also equally passionate about palmistry, but I call it hand analysis and dream analysis, right? Again, just more ways to uncover, who is I like
Yeah.
that. And
That's a different
but
question,
then
but yeah.
I just had, yeah, I'm fascinated by that now. So, but I had all these, I had these things, and then I remember specifically thinking in 2010, Michelle, if you want to become a master in something, you're going to have to, drop
Mm,
some other stuff and really hone in. And the minute I decided, okay, well, numerology just pipped the post in terms of dream analysis and hand analysis and every other thing I had, but I really loved those 3. The minute I went, okay, it's numerology, then that's when I started to go deep into numerology, deeper and deeper, and then found all these other things that not every numerologist seems to know. And then I came up with my own program in terms of archetype journey, and the past life fear stuff, and putting it together in the way that I, and to me, look, I express it through numbers, but you know what? It's actually just life. It's just life. To me, I saw life in numbers, and numbers are everywhere in life. So to me, I say number one, but really just think, if you think about it like this, number one is confidence. If you don't believe in yourself, how far can you get in life? So number one is learning how to believe in ourselves. Number two is, I said before, learning how to work and walk alongside others. Number three is learning how to express myself. Number four is taking responsibility and learning that work ethic stuff. Number five is learning how to manage change. Number six is family relationships, being able to take responsibility on that level, in that area. Number seven is the self-awareness. Number eight is we are spiritual beings living a human incarnation, and if I can't manage my material and my money side of this life, then how much help can I give others? Which has always been a journey for me. I'll be telling you. But we need to have the balance between the spiritual and the material with the number eight. Number eight is, if you've got too much spiritual, you're going to struggle, right? Because you need to be also managing the material. If it's too much of the material, you're going to D. Martini puts it really well. There's too much with the spirit. I'm not going to remember it now, but either or. If there's too much of the material, you're going to experience some dissatisfaction somewhere. I'll have to message you guys, because I love this saying, but I can't remember at the moment. Anyway, it's balance. And number nine. Yeah, you can tell. And number nine is, as I said before, number nine is the humanitarian. So number nine is, once I know how to stand up for me, then it's important to stand up for others. And I love, again, another quote that comes to mind is Audrey Hepburn, I've got two hands, one for helping me and one for helping others. And truly, that's the journey. To me, that's the journey of the human being, should be the journey. We should all be striving to grow into those qualities, instead of we're all striving for money and all this other bullshit, fame, celebrity. All those things are great. Nothing wrong with any of those things. But you know what? If you've got all of those things, I've listened to enough stories to know that, firstly, whatever difference you make in terms of those things, well, we're all going to be dead soon anyway, and it makes no bloody difference at all. And two, if that was the key to happiness, they should all be happy. And there's so many of them. I mean, what's his name, who I love, the comedian, he goes, it's just not even fame, celebrity, money is just not the key to it. If you're miserable before, you're going to be miserable with all of that as well. So to me, it's got to be about more than that. And the numbers take me into the more. They took me into the real important messages that
feels to me like, definitely. And it feels to me like the number side of things isn't the magical bit. The magical bit is people being able to understand more about their own particular ways to then be able to live a more meaningful life. And it's
Mick, you hit the nail on the head.
Well, I say that with confidence, because that's really similar to the hypnosis with my hypnotherapy. Is that doing hypnosis, the people can learn to do hypnosis in a weekend course. The hypnosis side, it's actually quite natural.
I did try a weekend course, Mick. I did.
Oh, there you go. Well, congratulations. You're an expert.
I didn't. It wasn't for me. So
it wasn't for you.
Yeah, that wasn't for me.
The magic is in when people are so introspective in a certain state, it's almost like their subconscious or their higher self knows exactly what they need. And it's just trusting that subconscious to give that. Like, that's the magical bit. The hypnosis bit's like nothing. So I'm getting the same thing with the numerology. Like, it's really cool. I don't know how it works, because numbers maybe they are objective on one side, but then their origins are completely subjective.
Yes.
But what it does is it creates an environment where people can really get to know themselves, and then having that knowledge can then go and do. So it doesn't fix anyone, but it gives them the tools to be able to.
Yes.
Is that a good summary of
I love that summary.
This is sounding too rational.
He was expecting it to, had to ask more questions and go, no, that doesn't make sense. Like,
so the woo though, the woo is in the same woo that's in everything, like quantum electrodynamics. There's plenty of woo there, because no one knows why light does what it does, but thank goodness it does, because we can see everything.
Yeah.
So it's interesting it's interesting that the power in it is in what it does, not what it is.
Michelle, I want to ask before we wrap up, because we're probably like, we could talk
Yes.
to everyone. I know you
Close to an hour and a half. That's all right.
forever about this.
Thank
but
you
I
for
have
struggling through if you're still with us.
I have it amazing. I don't think they were struggling. It's so interesting.
It's so
It's
interesting.
good.
And you know what? Hang on, actually, if someone's tuned out already halfway through this, what number are they?
Yeah, that's
Might be
cool. I'll
personality.
timestamp
If they've
certain
tuned
things so
out,
people can fast forward.
probably threes. They would have to have lots of threes, and they'd be like, "Oh God, this is
I
boring. I
love
want
it,
to
I
go
love
do
it.
Yeah,
something."
my wife is out. She's gone. She's done.
gone,
She
she's
listened to the start and said, "Yeah, I heard it."
I've had numerology, like bits and pieces. I've learned a bit about
Yeah.
myself and remembering a couple of things. Like I remember something about, because I've got lots of ones in my birthday. I got told if you have multiple, because I'm 21, 11, 1981. I got told if you have lots of number ones, it can mean you're prone to addiction of some kind. I thought that was interesting. So little cool things like that. I'm not sure if that one's right or not, but the main one I wanted to ask is, and this happens a lot, because we're talking about how you choose your name, like your parents might channel it or something
Yeah.
like that. But people don't like their name and they change it, or they get married and they change their name.
Right,
Wow,
great
okay.
question.
Oh,
Oh my
that's awesome.
God.
That
Yes.
should have been
Great
my
question, because
Oh,
maybe this will be a
no.
little bit of the woo-woo that Mick is looking for.
Yay!
Right. So I have done a number of readings for clients who were adopted.
Oh,
okay.
So
Cool.
let's
That
get back
too.
to So let's get back to what I was saying before about how souls, coming down here to work through shit, right? And whether you try and control one thing or the other thing doesn't make any difference, because somehow that shit that you need to work through is going to find you regardless in this lifetime through your profile. So these two chicks, one of them, I was still teaching at the spiritual college, and one sometime after that. Now, the name and the birth date they had, that they both of them knew their birth mothers. So the name that they were given at birth and the name they were given from their adopted parents. I did their profile with both. I did both profiles, and I can't believe it. Actually, no, the first one knew her mother. The first one, everything was exactly the same. And not only her profile exactly the same, despite the name change, her mother's profile, the birth mother and adopted mother, had a very similar profile.
Wow, that's cool.
Right. That was really woo-woo. And then the second one, I don't think she knew her birth name, but I'm not sure we did her mother. But I remember that hers was exactly the same except for the number 5. And I also did, I remember a lady I did that we did hers from, because mostly I do it from the birth name. We also will take into account the name that you use now, but your birth name is going to give insight into the inherent stuff, right? The stuff that we all develop and get better and better through all of the things that we learn within ourselves. But then in a crisis kind of moment, we'll all revert back to who we really are, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But with the second one, it was the number 5 that she didn't have many, and then she had more than enough. And so for her, the only difference had been that she'd gone, if you don't have enough 5s in your profile, then you'll struggle with risk and chance and adventure. And if you're just right with your number 5s, then you're going to be able to flex and flow with the changing landscape. If you have too many 5s, then there can be danger of addiction, rebellion, recklessness. And I mean, you don't have it, obviously, Xavier, but
I don't have 5s.
but maybe it's well, I know so this comes from all the letters in the name, and that was the difference with her, that she'd become, the name change made her more adventurous, and that resonated with her. Then the lady whose name changed through marriage, this was really interesting. She was under in her 1 energy, meaning that she struggled with confidence. And then when she got married, she inherited some 1s through the married name, the surname. Awesome. And which would then make her more confident. And when I said to her, did you find that you became more confident when you married? And then you might argue, well, did you become more confident because you were married?
Yes.
I don't know, but it just
Chicken
so
or the
happens
egg.
that not
so happens everyone.
Yeah, it's like, are you messing with fate or whatever?
Exactly, right?
Or
That's exactly
you were going to change your name at a certain time in your
That's
life.
right. Exactly. Those are all the questions I've asked.
Okay, now my brain hurts. Yeah, you did it. You hurt my brain. It's interesting because my on my wife's side grandmother, which is the last grandparent we had, and we're very close with her. Beautiful woman. She was adopted, and she always went with her name that she had, her adopted name.
Yes.
And then in her final probably year or year and a half, where she was going through a lot of struggle, she really adopted her original name. And
How
she was
fascinating.
a beautiful person. And I just get the sense that, and this is being woo-woo, that potentially
Yeah.
in reverting back to that name, that might have been a
Yes.
symbolization of dealing with whatever that was through
Yeah.
her final years
Yeah.
and passing,
Yes.
which she had a lot of challenges with. So, and being alone as well.
Wow.
So that's so interesting. It makes
Mm.
you think you're going to have so many people coming to see you now
Yeah,
to
they
get their
might want to
numbers
check
done.
if their
And-
new name they've got is going to suit where they want to go with their life. Like,
Exactly. So then you
when I
can.
get married, I might have to ask you, Michelle, should I keep my
Yeah.
name and we'll change it to my new surname? Like, which is better? Or are they the same?
Wow.
No, like,
Yeah. And
That's
people
so
do this
cool.
also for their business names as well.
yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
You can do a business, so I could give you my business name. And
Yeah, definitely.
so cool. If there's anyone listening that doesn't want their numeral everything done, I'll be surprised. Like, it's so it's so interesting. You can find out so much stuff.
So interesting.
And so different to, this is kind of like Google Doctor. When people have a few symptoms and then they go online and they go, oh, it must be this. It's like, I've got a cough. I've definitely got throat cancer. I'm going to call all my relatives. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah. Like you can go to horoscopes and things and numerology and do the numbers yourself. You'll get a picture, but in coming to you, because it sounds like
Definitely.
I know what you're saying is simple, but it's complex putting it all together with you sitting there and holding their hand through it, and then obviously offering other tools if they need it. Coming to see you is very different to just doing your numbers, although I'm sure everyone's done their number. But that sounds like
it's like
sounds like you've got a lot to offer in that sense of pulling it all together.
Definitely.
Now we understand the rabbit hole you're talking about, how you can just, it just keeps going and going. So you might come for one reading, but then they'll be coming back for more in depth because there's so much.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Okay, so contacting you because people will want to. You've got your wellness school as well. Tell us a bit about the wellness school. What's that?
Oh,
Is it
yeah, I would love to.
What do you do?
Yeah, so this year definitely the focus is on on the school, getting the wellness school up and running. So we've had our beautiful wellness community up and running since 2018, and we've got lots of, because at the same time as my own journey was unfolding, I have always been passionate about, I'm just really passionate about growing better in life and all the many ways that there are to do that. And then I'm passionate about all these people that can help us do that, not just me. And so we've taken all these beautiful people, and they've all become our wellness community. There's lots of expertise and gifted women in that space. And so we've been running. We have lots going on, in our wellness community on Facebook. We've got a private group. We've got a page. But we've also run events in real life. We've obviously, like everybody else, we've encountered a few obstacles there. We've got the radio show, of course, on KC Radio. Also, just into creating lots of different pathways for people to get better. And now the school is going to be up and running. So we're just all going to be pouring in, I want to, I want to, as I have learned, I want to teach others, and I want a space where everybody else that I know who is awesome, like Xavier, can come in and teach as well.
Beautiful.
And
so
you
that's
too, Mick, with the hypnosis stuff.
Oh, look, I'm not a lady.
I'll have to get you two on the radio.
I'll have to get in touch with my feminine side.
I've changed it though, Xavier. Now I've changed it. I'm changing it to. It has been. That's always been. That was kind of the start of the wellness community journey, and now it's become seekers, because a whole lot of men are making their way in there now. So
Well, I think it's fair enough.
It's fantastic. Yes, really good. Really good.
I think that's good. Well,
I think it's still included.
Yes. Exactly.
So that's www.wellnessschool.org for the school. Is that right?
That's
and then obviously your website, www.ourwellnesscommunity.com.au.
That's it.
But you're obviously very, very active on your Facebook site,
Yes.
which is just Our Wellness Community.
Actually, on just search Our Wellness Community. But I think I mucked up the name there. I think I'm OWC VIP Group. But anyway,
Right.
you'll find
Right.
it.
Welcome to the VIP group.
Exactly. All the links will be posted.
And so people can contact you through that, but people can contact you through that website and
exactly.
organise. Wonderful. That is so good.
Thank you so much, Michelle. You have such a big heart, and it's so beautiful, all the work you do and how you bring everybody together. And I'm really honoured to be part of the wellness community and the wellness school. And I wouldn't be there if I didn't intuitively feel like it was the right place for me to be, and it's a beautiful platform where I can help with the other women and men and whoever. The knowledge is so great having that community there. So well done on how much you've brought people together and support. It's fun. It's wonderful. So thank you.
And thank you for the beautiful message for 2022. I think we've all needed something positive to come through, and also to look at the last couple of years and the lessons we're pushing through collectively as well. So I think you've brought up some really beautiful points. It's been really nice, and I hope we haven't scared you off and you'll come back on one day.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then, if you accept to come back on, you're going to have to do Elon Musk's son. So you have to work out how to do that. I don't know if you need to learn Sanskrit.
Awesome.
I don't care what you have to do. You're going to have to do it, and we can contact Elon Musk.
That'd be great. And we'll
who's
do
a
Elon
listener
Musk
of the
as
show.
well.
He's a listener of the show, obviously. So he'll be very interested in you doing the numbers.
I love it.
Shout out to Uncle Elon.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
That's it for another episode, but that doesn't have to be the end of the conversation.
Feel free to leave your comments on our YouTube channel, or for those podcast listeners, you can email us at mickandthepsychic@gmail.com to leave your feedback or questions.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist and timeline regression therapist. If you wish to contact me to explore the source of an issue you're facing, just book a session at hearnhypnosis.com.au and include the promo code MATP for 10% off. You can contact me on Insta and Facebook at hearnhypnosis.
Check out my website at optimisticxavier.com.au if you feel you'd like to connect with me as a psychic medium, spiritual mentor, or intuitive coach. Include the promo code MATP for 10% discount. You can also find me on Insta, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
We look forward to connecting with you again next time as we attempt to leave no stone unturned.
Bye.
All right, cool. I reckon that should be okay.